Hello, everyone, and welcome to Your Cup of Joy. I'm your host, Ariana Joy Christie, and I am so glad that you are here. This is a space to inspire, to learn, to grow, and to challenge. Get ready to fill your cup and spread a little joy along the way. Okay, Zoe Potter, thank you so much for being here. We have Zoe Potter, a content creator, podcast host, mom of two, and fashionista, I would say. Welcome to Your Cup of Joy.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so happy you're here. I feel like we have so much to talk about. We have met each other and seen each other at like different PR events. All over, I feel like. And I just feel so connected and drawn to you, but we've never actually got to sit down and have a real conversation.
Hang out. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you so much. Obviously, I'm a follower of yours. I follow your Instagram page. I listen to your YouTube videos sometimes. And you talk things all like fashion, lifestyle, self-love, food inspo on Instagram and YouTube primarily, right?
Yes. Yeah. And TikTok. I do have a TikTok as well, but like those are my three. Yeah.
Amazing. So what got you into sharing online? How did that come to be?
I think like many, it was during COVID. It was during lockdown. And I feel like we all just kind of hovered to the internet as like comfort and like a safe space because we didn't have that anymore. Everything got taken away so quickly and like we all didn't have a social life. So I feel like we all just kind of found our social life and community on the internet, which is wild.
Totally. It's so wild. Like when we think back and say it out loud, I'm like, wow, that is, I can't even believe, but you're right. It happened for so many people that way. Yeah,
it did. Yes. So, I mean, I had been, pretty present on YouTube before COVID. And that was my main, account for the longest time. And I did, ghost hunting and I did like talking about, I know that's how I started. Yeah. And I would I would talk about like spiritual experiences and like the afterlife and like ghosts and stuff like that and like haunted stories. That's how I kind of.
Oh my God. I'm shocked.
Isn't that so wild?
Yeah.
So not a lot of people know that about me. So yeah, they're still up, like my old YouTube videos. It's the same channel. So like back in the day, 4 years ago. Yeah. So that's how I kind of got started, like started. And then I took a little pause because I ended up getting pregnant with my son and then COVID hit. So then everything just kind of shifted. I started posting on TikTok primarily in the end of 2020 when my son was like 4 months old, just because I was, at home with a toddler and a newborn and I was lonely and I just wanted to kind of like find an outlet or like a community that I didn't have anymore. So that's how I kind of fell into it.
That's so incredible and so cool. So, I mean, for me too, I've shared before kind of how I got into the online space and I had like so many different random jobs before that. Like I worked in the bar industry. I started at Tim Hortons. I worked in the nonprofit world. I'm also a realtor, like so many different kind of things. And I'm always interested to hear like people's journey and background as they get into the online space. So what was your work life before? And then maybe share with us what your favorite job you've ever had was.
Oh, okay. So I've worn a bunch of different hats. I've always worked. That's something that's always kind of been there for me. So I went to school like post-secondary for acting and that was my goal, is to be an actor. I wanted to act and I did do some background film acting for a while. But I did retail a lot, retail management. I worked in a car dealership for numerous years as like business development and customer care. So I did that for so long. I also was certified to do lashes, like lash extensions and lifts and tints and stuff like that when my daughter was a baby. So that was like quite some time ago. And then, I left to pursue that and do that on my own. I had my own little salon. I ran it out of my house and I did that for a numerous amount of years. And then COVID hit and kind of threw a wrench into it because you're not out there touching people's eyeballs in the middle of a pandemic. So
literally. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I guess content creating just kind of happened and it wasn't a job at first. It definitely was never my intention to make it a career. It was more so just like to pass time while, I was at home alone. And then it eventually just turned into my career down
That
the
is
way.
so cool. I love
Yeah.
that. And kind of neat because I feel like all of those jobs have a little bit of something that you can take into that space too.
Oh,
Like
for
your
sure.
like business development, customer
Mm-hmm.
client care, like you're good at speaking to people.
Yeah.
You share makeup videos too, and I feel like that goes with lashes. Like
Yeah.
it's so interesting. I love that.
Yeah. It's interesting how things in our past kind of like form us and make us into who we are now. It's wild to think about.
Totally. And sometimes people are like, oh, I wish that I would have known like then what I know now in terms of career. But I
Right?
often think we learn so much from
Yeah.
jobs that have nothing to do with what we're doing now that
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I think that journey is important. So it's
I
interesting to hear.
agree.
I'm still shook about the ghost hunting stuff. I can't even believe that.
I literally was the worst person to do it too because I just scared myself. Like I'm not hardcore. Like I just got too scared. And like I remember the last like right before I found out I was pregnant, my husband and I went and stayed at a haunted hotel in Niagara, I think it was. Yeah,
Oh
like
my
it's
gosh.
like famously haunted. We stayed in the most haunted room. It was like a whole and I literally scared myself sick. I didn't even sleep like 1 second all night. And my husband was like, I don't think you're cut out for this. And I'm like, I don't think I am either. Let's be honest. I'm too much of a wimp.
I could never. I'm like terrified of the dark. Like there's 0% chance I'd be able to do that. That's so wild. I love it.
Yeah, I was just like, and then I found out I was pregnant. I'm like, cool. So I'm going to stop now because I'm scared.
Yeah.
And I'm pregnant. I'm a child. Yeah, right.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for sharing that. I want to talk a little bit about you sharing things about self-love and confidence. I feel like that's like a big pillar of your online presence, which I
Yeah.
absolutely love and has been so helpful for me because I won't lie, I feel like that's something that I've been struggling with a lot lately. So you have been someone who I've followed along with to just help with that. So firstly, thank you for sharing because it really is truthfully so helpful.
Oh,
I want to talk about a certain post specifically. You shared a post that said your body will never ruin your outfit. It had that, I think, in text. And then it was like the cutest outfit you were wearing. And you showed it from all different angles. Like it started at the front, then it was sides and back. And then you showed it while you were sitting down too from all of the angles. And it made me reflect so much because there are so many times where I put on an outfit. I'm like, oh, great. Like I look cute. I like go downstairs. I'll go out and then I'm at the mall or like walking past like a window and I see
oh
a
my
side
gosh.
glance at myself and I'm like, is that me? Like I don't even feel like it's me. And then immediately I go into like this train of thought that is just so bad and unhealthy. And so I just feel like you sharing that was so helpful to show that everybody's body looks different from every single angle and that's okay.
It is.
It was just, it's such a simple thing, but it seems like such a revolution to me for you to post that. So why did you decide to share that? Did you have a moment like that too? How did that kind of come to be? Because I feel like even the comments, it was so helpful for people.
So I think it was last summer, maybe I saw one of my favorite creators share a video where she said like, this is the angles that you traditionally see on social media. And she showed herself like in an outfit, which is really cute. And she's like, and these are the angles that we aren't used to seeing. And it's not that any of us are hiding those angles or like tucking them away or anything like that. But I think it's just like what we're so accustomed to and what we're so used to. And I remember that post really sticking with me. You probably know her, Remy Jo.
Yes,
she's like a big creator on TikTok. And I remember, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love that. So I made a very similar video to hers and I tagged her for inspiration. And I remember like showing myself in a video and like showing similar with the outfit. But then something else I included to the video as well was things that you see on social media and showing parts of like my house that were like clean and put together and this and that. And I just turned it around and I showed like my laundry's all over the place. My bed's not made. And it's just like, we forget that like social media is such a highlight reel. And I think that, just bringing more attention to it is so important. And also just as many people as possible that can just show that there are different angles to humans. There are different, angles to your home and to your life and to your mental health. And like, I feel like there's so many things that are just not as obvious on the internet. We choose what we put out there. Right.
Totally.
I think that that's kind of just where it stemmed. It started and it's kind of like bubbled up in me and stayed there. And then I was like, I think we should just keep doing it. Like just keep talking
Yeah.
about it. And the more people who do and talk about it is the better.
I love that. I think it's so important because you're right. Like sometimes you'll have that experience, like you said, like a year, 2 years, 3 years ago, and you remember it for like a few days and then it kind of trails off and you're
It
like,
sticks
you
with
forget
you.
about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the more that we share it and the more that we see it, the more it sticks with you and the more it can be ingrained with you. Because like confidence and mental health and body confidence, especially, or body positivity, is something that ebbs and flows, I find, especially in my life. Some weeks I'll be like so great and feeling awesome and wearing whatever I feel good in. And other weeks I feel like I can't leave the house because the only thing I feel comfortable in is sweatpants. It's
Yeah.
wild.
But that's part of being a human too. I feel like I don't know a single person who is confident and comfortable and, ecstatic in their body all of the time, regardless
Truthfully.
of what their body size is or their
Yeah.
age or anything. Like, I feel like that's just part of being who we are. And I think that it's okay to say that. Like, I feel like there's kind of like this hush point where, like, if you're in the space of being, self-love, confidence building, plus size, body empowerment, like, you're not allowed to have bad days. You're not allowed to be ashamed of something on your body one day. Where I don't believe that's true. Like, why can't we? Like, we're human. Like, that would be super weird if we're not.
Totally.
Like,
I actually really love that you said that too, because you're right. There was a time where I had all of these feelings and things that normally I would share in any other aspect of my life. But because it was about my body, I was like, I don't feel like I can, which is so
Yeah.
silly because
Mhm.
as someone who shares transparently, it's so simple for me to share other things because I'm like, oh, it's just how I'm feeling. And it's important because probably other people are feeling that way. But we just become like a little bit scared, maybe even when it
Yeah.
comes to our body, which it seems so silly. I love that you related it to the house because there are many times that I've like really taken initiative to show what my home looks like, especially if I'm filming like a recipe or something and I've cleaned like one corner of my kitchen, and then I'll show like the rest after and be like, just so you're aware, like my kitchen never looks like this. Literally
Yeah.
never. And I started sharing that because I was watching other people's videos and consuming social media and feeling like absolute crap about myself because I'm like, this person has 4 kids. I only have 3. Like, how is their house clean? I must be failing. I must be doing something wrong. And you start to internalize just based on something that maybe their message wasn't even about that. It was like about an outfit or something, but I'm looking at the background being like, oh no, my house doesn't look like that.
Every day I go on TikTok or Instagram and I'm looking and I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm like,
Yeah.
how does your home look so put together? How does everything look so? Closets make me want to cry. Like when you see fashion creators and their closets, I'm like,
Yeah.
how do you do? Like, you must live out of this closet. So like if I were to show you my closet right now, oh man, it
Same.
is something.
Same. And all the piles of laundry that are in my
Oh
room.
yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
that makes me feel better. So thank you. But it's interesting to relate that to also ourselves and our body. Like those things are similar. Like we're only showing one side, one piece of anything. Even sometimes like our families and our kids. Like I follow some creators that
Yeah.
give like realistic day in the lives because I'm like, okay, thank goodness. Like my kid's not the only one that's, not responding well to this or screaming in
Oh
public or saying bad
yeah.
words or something.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's good to keep it real. And I think that that's actually so important. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, another video that you share often, I think it's like a series that you do quite often, is the what I eat in a day while eating intuitively.
Mm-hmm.
So I have not ever heard anybody else speak of eating as intuitive or intuitively or
Oh
describing it that way.
really?
I had never
Oh.
until I saw your videos. And I thought like, how incredible is that? Because it's not saying eating healthy. It's not saying eating
No.
like in this certain way. It's literally
Mm-hmm.
saying intuitively to like fuel your body. Can you share with us a little bit about what maybe inspired that and what eating intuitively means to you?
Sure. Yeah. So I started it 3 years ago, maybe almost 4 years ago. I started practicing intuitive eating, and I have been practicing it for that duration of time. So I have been on and off of some form of diets my entire life, whether it be like calorie counting, you know, removing certain food groups, you know, focusing on fats and like proteins, and like I've always been tracking. Like that's been my entire life, because when you exist in a bigger body, like I have existed in a bigger body my whole life, I feel like that was always my expectation. Like you have to actively be doing something to try and change yourself. And so I've talked about this a few times before, but when I had my son, I had gained a lot of weight during pregnancy. I was also in my smallest body as an adult when I got pregnant. So I think that when I gained all this weight, it was even more impactful on me mentally than normal. And the second I got home from the hospital, I put myself on a crash diet, and like I wasn't eating. I was like determined to like get back to that weight, to get back to that person that I was before. And I remember that I had just fallen into this whole, I was like suffering with postpartum depression. It was the middle of COVID. It was the height of COVID, and I was not eating. And I just knew something had to give. I talked to my doctor. I was put on medication, and I just made a decision to like take a break. That's all I wanted to do, was just take a little bit of a break from dieting. And I was like, I'm going to get myself better mentally. I'm going to focus on my baby, my child, you know, and that was my priority. And so I discovered intuitive eating, and I was like, this is interesting. Like, I'm going to try this. I'm like, because I have punished myself my entire life with everything that I ate. But as soon as I started taking away labels and like morals to food, things just started making more sense. And it's still a work in progress for me. I'm still practicing, I'm still learning, and I'm still trying to find the right fit for me and what works for my body and my, you know, my mental health.
Yeah.
But as soon as I started ditching labels, and like as soon as I started, you know, focusing on what I needed in that moment and what my body was needing, things just made so much more sense. And like everything, like a light bulb turned on, and I didn't have to track anything anymore. I didn't have to cut out anything anymore. I didn't have to shame myself if I ate a couple slices of pizza and then the next day I would starve myself for, you know, the rest of the day. Like everything just made sense, and it was so much easier too. So I'm like, I'm like, do you know how much time it takes to like plan out meals, and like when you're in a calorie deficit, or like when you're tracking things?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have time for that.
Literally.
And I think that everything just made sense. And like, I didn't need to be on a diet anymore. At least I felt I didn't need to be on a diet anymore. So yeah, it's worked out a lot.
That's incredible. I think that it's a big mental thing too, because I feel for myself, like similar to you, as the smallest I'd ever been when I got pregnant. I had really dieted huge for my wedding, like not in healthy ways. I wanted to look a certain way.
Oh yeah.
And when I achieved that, like I didn't feel any better, you know?
No.
And so, but it was something that constantly just like lived in the back of my mind every day, every event we went to. What was the food there? What was I going to eat? It was so bad. And, but I didn't think it was bad at the time. And then I got pregnant with the twins. It was the pandemic, like you said, like everything kind of changed. And of course my body changed. Like we create life. Like how could it not? You know what I mean? But still this message that kept being given, whether it was meant to come off that way or not, like it still did. It was like the comments that are like, oh, don't worry, like you'll get your body back. You'll bounce back. Or when I was vocalizing even to like friends or family members that like, I'm just not feeling good in my body. Like I'm really just, not feeling good about myself. They'd be like, oh, well, you gave birth to 3 babies. Like to this day, they'll say that to me. And I'm like, no, like that, I understand what you're saying, but that's not helpful to me. Like having it be, because that's still even saying that like, that I'm not looking my best.
Exactly. And yeah. And I know
and
that
I want to be like, I'm happy in this body. Like this is the body that I want. I'm proud of my body. And by saying that, you're saying that I shouldn't be.
Yeah, literally. It's yeah. I think that it's so wild to me how even like in 2024, how open people are about just commenting on other people's bodies. Like on a whim.
Honestly, I'm like,
There's
how
no
did this
winning.
happen?
No.
No, it's wild to me. And people will say things all the time, whether it's, oh, you're looking great. Oh, you're not looking great. Like people will say, are you working out? How's
Mm-hmm.
your eating? I have people message me all the time about their workout plans, not from a place of like, sometimes the messages are fine. Other times it's like, hey, like, do you know you should be, like you said, in a caloric deficit? Did you know if you just change this one thing, like you can achieve your goals? I'm like, what if my goal is to be who I am?
And to just be okay. Like
Yeah.
like I don't think people realize how, you know, uncomfortable it makes other people when you're
Yeah.
like commenting on things that are a lot of the time out of control for them, and
Hmm.
or that's not their focus right now. Even if it is their focus, I'm like, why are we still commenting on people's bodies? Why do we
Truly.
need to do that? We don't.
Yeah. And also when people do comment, we almost feel like we have to make an excuse for them or make them feel good. Like I'll always be
Oh
like, oh no,
yeah.
like sorry. Like, why can't I stand up for myself, you know?
I know. It goes back to that whole like, you know, we have to be polite to them even though they are not considering our feelings or anything. Like it's like,
Yeah,
what's wrong
for
with us?
sure. And I'm a big recently I've been having this like epiphany about the language that we use and how
Hmm.
like impact versus what intent, like
Oh,
intention versus
yeah.
impact. And so like your intention can be different, but sometimes the words we choose and the language that we use is gives off something different or can maybe not mean what we're trying to say. So for
Hmm.
example, not about like body or confidence, but an example of this that I'm using with my husband a lot of the time is we have been having arguments about things that are happening in the house. So, like roles and responsibilities that we're taking on with the kids, we both work. So, where is that line kind of drawn? And he'll sometimes say, well, I helped you today because I watched the kids while you made dinner. And I'm like, no, 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 you didn't help me. Like using the word help insinuates that it's my role and responsibility and you're just assisting me in that moment. But this is
Yeah.
both of our roles as a family. So the language has a massive, massive impact.
Hmm.
And I want to share something that I've been reflecting on kind of as I was like gearing up to this chat with you. But I went to an event recently on a trip, and it was with a group of people who I knew before I had babies. So I
Hmm.
was at a much smaller body stage, I guess. I looked quite different than I look now, and I'm like very aware of that. And so I was a little bit like nervous preparing. I had shopped for new clothes. I had really like put a lot of intention into how I looked, which now reflecting back, I don't think was people that even gave a shit, to be honest. It was me. Um but I wore this dress. So I was there, I shopped, I wore this dress. My sister was with me. She helped me pick it. And it was something completely out of my comfort zone. It was tight. It was like strapless, but it was so cute. It was kind of trendy. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to wear this to this dinner.
Hmm.
And I put it on and I felt good. You know, my makeup was good, my hair was good, everything. We got there and so many people commented, but with good intention, but the words they were saying did not make me feel good. So a lot of people said, oh, you're so brave.
Oh, I hate
That was the
that.
one that got me. And
Oh,
I was
or
like,
oh.
hold on. And I this was months ago and I've been thinking about this ever since. So I
Oh,
want
I'm
to hear,
so sorry.
oh, it's okay. Like they
No,
didn't
I'm
mean it to
sorry.
be
I
mean.
no, but it doesn't matter. I'm sorry. That's not
Thanks.
okay. It's
Thank
not
you.
okay. Or like, oh, I wish I could be that confident or like
Yes.
and in some cases I understand it because there is a
Sure.
generation who for the longest time like you can't show skin, you can't do this, you can't do that, like no matter like if you have an ounce of body fat, like you can't. So in their heads it's not insulting because they do wish that they could have that confidence. They're not
Mhm.
looking at us and saying like, oh, they shouldn't be wearing that, we should make them, but in their heads they're thinking I could never do that because they've been programmed to think otherwise. But
True.
I don't think that people think that when you're saying things like you're so brave, that is such an insult. Like
I
it's
literally was
so
like, and the intention was so good, but yeah, like the language was wrong. Like I
no.
wasn't brave for going to this dinner. I wasn't brave for putting clothes on my body. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I wasn't brave for doing my hair and makeup, and I was not brave
No.
for being there. So that's why yeah, I'm, I'm glad you said that because I was insulted by it and I felt like, should I not be?
No, you should be. Like and I think that but I've been in a very similar situation where I've had comments like that and I feel guilty for being upset about it. Like I feel
That's
like
I
I
love
should
it.
like I was like, "Oh, like maybe I am brave or maybe I am confident." But I think the only thing that comes with us being brave or confident is like maybe sharing publicly on the internet. Like that side of things I understand because that
True.
takes no matter who you are, no matter what your body size, that takes a lot of confidence and it's a scary world out there,
In
especially
many
on the
different ways.
internet.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, you're
totally.
opening yourself up to like God knows what.
Yeah.
But no, but for just existing in a body and putting something
Mhm.
on your body doesn't make you brave.
Yeah.
Like it
Okay.
doesn't. Like I feel like that's so uncalled for. I'm so sorry. Like
It's okay.
not
Thank you.
okay.
I
Oh
just
my
was like,
god.
yeah. Um, Also, you shared a video recently that really stuck with me and kind of related back to something that I'd posted before and something that I've been feeling a lot lately too. And it's
Mm-hmm.
you started by saying, "Here's a video of me in a few bathing suits on the internet so that hopefully you feel comfortable enough to wear one around your friends this summer."
Yeah.
Absolutely love that. And I have
Oh
a few thoughts
yay.
of it. Yeah,
Okay.
because so I love that you're sharing that. I love that you're showing that, like, again, like wearing a bathing suit is not brave. Going to the park with your
No.
kids is not brave.
No.
Being comfortable is not brave. Like dressing for the weather is not
Mm-hmm.
brave. So I think it's amazing that you shared that and really inspired people that like it's okay to wear clothing that is appropriate for where you're going, like a bathing suit to a
Right?
pool. Yeah, like
Yeah,
that's a
like
normal
it's
thing.
okay. Like, yeah, I was the forever oversized t-shirt and, spandex shorts swimmer.
Yep.
Like, I didn't wear a proper bathing suit until I was in my 30s.
Oh
Like,
my gosh.
a bikini hadn't touched my body until I was like in my 30s. Like, that
Wow.
wasn't even a consideration for me because I
So
just
what was the change for you? Because that's a big, like, to live your life always in one way and feeling one way. It's a big thing to change that. So and even bigger, like you said, sharing on the internet,
Mhm.
your journey of that, but which I think is so inspiring. But how did that click for you?
I was just so tired. Like I think that when you get older too, you just get tired of everything. Like I get tired of, rules, I get tired of, expectations that society has on you. Like I'm just tired. Like I don't have enough we have one life. I'm
Agreed.
almost halfway through it and
Mhm.
I just want to be comfortable. I want my kids to be comfortable. I think my kids were a
Mm.
big factor for me too
I was gonna ask that.
because I
Mhm.
have, a little girl and a little boy who look up to me. And I remember being in a bigger body when I was little and seeing my mom wearing swimsuits, bikinis, things like that with her, loose skin and her, chubby thighs and her chubby tummy. And I remember thinking like, God, she's so pretty. Like, God, she's so beautiful.
Oh,
And like, I remember
yeah.
thinking that. I'm like, I wish I could look like that when I get bigger. And
Yeah.
I just want my kids to know that, like, yes, I have a bigger body. So if they have a bigger body at any point in their life, I hope that they know that they're okay and they're loved and they should be respected. And that's not important. Like, it's not
Mhm.
important, to worry or to fret or to focus on. Like, it's part of you. It's great, but
Mhm.
you're so much more than that. So let's, focus on that.
Totally. And so when you are parenting, like do you feel like things that you share on your social media, intuitive eating, body positivity, those types of things, do you feel like that plays a role in your parenting and how do you kind of share that with them in an age appropriate way?
I think so. I think it plays a role on my life, really. Like I feel
Mhm.
like it's just who I am as a person. So like I've always been everyone, and I do want to say like I know everyone has different styles of parenting, and I would never shame as long
Mhm.
as your child is happy and no one's being hurt. I'm not going to shame another parent for how they choose to parent and
Agreed.
do that. But for me and for what works for our family is, we don't have like bad foods. I never talk about
Mm.
foods as being naughty or, I never have a chocolate bar and then publicly say to my kids, like, oh, I've just been so bad. I need to go wash it down with a salad or something like that. Like, I just don't use that lingo around my kids. Um, And something that I've done since they were really little is like anything that's like sweets or, treats, I guess you would say, it's
Yeah.
on their plate with them while they're eating the majority of the time. So we're like a big
Love.
snacky plate family. So like we'll give them a plate of food for lunch, and it'll be like vegetables, meats, cheeses, things like that. And then there'll be a cookie on there, or there's some gummies on there. Or like when I send my daughter her lunch, like I'll put it in there and everything's there together. And I find that because I've done that from when they were so little, like they don't even start with the sweet. Like they just kind of like pick and go through everything, and it takes away any labels that make it seem like they're doing something wrong, like by eating a cookie or, a gummy or things like that. Whereas that's not the case. Like,
Your cup of joy is brought to you by my go-to snack, Humble Potato Chips. Not only are these chips the perfect snack, they are also a female-founded Canadian company. And the owner, Alicia, and her family started their business here in Guelph, Ontario. They are the only certified organic potato chip brand in North America. An even bigger bonus, Humble Potato Chips are sustainable and they are doing good. For every bag of Humble chips sold, they remove the equivalent of 2 bags worth of plastic from nature and the ocean. The team then turns the plastic into eco bricks and are building homes and schools in underprivileged communities. How stinking cool. Enjoy your favorite snack and know that you are doing good when you purchase. Do yourself a favor and mix my 2 favorite flavors, ketchup and barbecue, for the best snack ever. Enjoy. I actually love that. It's not something that I do, but I think something that I might implement, because you're right. I think those things that we're not really doing with the intention of making it be like that, they still have that impact on our children.
Yeah.
There are even like eating habits and things that both my partner and I have now that we have learned from being like 3. You know what I mean? Like the things that our parents did teach us or that we did grow up with stick with us. And we have those ideas, I guess, like ingrained in our heads. So I think that's amazing that you do that. Do they ever talk? Because you said one of your children is 7.
Yes, yeah, she's saucy. Yeah, she's at that age. She's oh yeah, no, 100%. It's little.
Did she get it from you?
Oh yeah, and like it doesn't even fit. I love it. Like she's a little Aries too, so she's like hard headed. Like she's like, yeah, I love it.
I love that. Well, I think it's inspiring that you can just provide support to her. We do like a lot of affirmations in our family, which I think are so, so important. And I've tried very, very hard to not ever speak poorly about my body around the kids.
Good for you.
So
that's
something that's difficult.
It is hard. And I feel like, there are some people who are like, oh, of course you wouldn't do that. But no, like we've had it ingrained in our heads our whole lives, to pick ourselves apart because that's what the media and society wanted from us. We always need to be constantly thinking about shrinking ourselves or making ourselves less loud or less this or less that. So it is hard.
So true.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a video I shared online a while ago, like I think over a year and a half ago. And it was me in a splash pad with my son, and we were like running under the water. It was like the best time of his life. Like I can still have that laugh and the picture of the smile in my head forever. Like it was just the best. And I was not feeling good in my body. Like I remember the clothes that I packed there. I was like, it was just not, I was not happy with how I felt or how I looked or anything. And I was really reflecting on like, my husband had taken a video of us going through the sprinkler, and I was like, oh, like this is such a beautiful memory for me of him, but for me it's so difficult to even embrace. And so I just shared, like, my kids will never remember what my body looked like in a bathing suit, but they'll always remember that I was in the water with them making memories. And it made me think of that video when I saw yours about being in a bathing suit. And there were so many comments of people reflecting about their parents being in the water with them, or on the flip side, not being in the water with them because they were thinking they weren't, worthy enough of being in a bathing suit, which to me is so wild. But then we feel it ourselves. It's almost like when we see other people feel it, we're like, no, how could you ever feel that way? But for us, we do feel that way. So, where do you think that your like confidence really stemmed from? Like, I know that you say that you give less shits being older and you just like, like I think
Yeah.
that's for a lot of us in many areas of life. But was there a certain instance or anything that really you were like, okay, this is like enough?
I think that for me, like it's still very much like an ongoing journey. And I know that there's probably not going to be a point where I'm ever going to be like 100% comfortable with every single part of myself. But I think it
I don't
was
think anybody
just,
is.
I don't think so either. Like you
No.
could be the most beautiful person in the whole entire world and still be self-conscious about something.
Yeah, true.
I think that for me, it was more so about finding comfort in being alone with myself and being in my body. So I think that it started when I started this journey online where I was kind of like talking about, trying to find a love for myself or trying to find, confidence and self-love and growing like myself mentally in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it just turned into this journey that I just felt will always be happening. Like I don't think that it's ever going to be done. Like it's never going to be done. And I think that the cool thing about it is like as I continue on it and as I continue to like be able to, like you said, go into my comments and like engage with all of these amazing humans who feel similar or want to feel similar, like that alone I think has inspired me more than I could inspire myself ever. Like that's the cool thing about having like an online space and an online, platform and community, is because you constantly have like-minded people that are there along with you. And like
Yeah.
I just don't ever want to give up because like they're expecting this from me and I'm expecting
Yeah.
it from myself. So
It's
that
almost
alone
like
makes it.
accountability and
Yeah.
inspiration mixed into one. Yeah.
Literally, but in the best way possible. Like
Yeah.
I feel like that's the accountability we need, not the accountability to like not eat chocolate or like things like that. We just
Yes.
accountability to be okay with yourself and to be comfortable
Yeah.
with yourself. Yeah.
I love that so much. I think that's so, so inspiring too. So, the name of this podcast is Your Cup of Joy. And the reason
Yeah.
that I have named it that is because self care to me is something that I'm really focused on. I feel like I have this
Oh,
like thing in my head that people sometimes think that self-care is selfish, or we interpret
yeah.
it that way. Like I think mom guilt plays a huge role in that for people.
Mm-hmm.
If like people have a really busy work life, they feel like they can't take time away from that. All of those things play a role. But I just want people to really know and understand that self-care is actually not selfish at all, and it just helps us show up as better versions of ourselves. It's like
Mm-hmm.
when you fill your car with gas, like you need to take a break, you need to like fill it up to make it perform the way that you want it to. And so we're similar in that we just have to have our cup full in order to show up as best versions of ourselves in like all areas of life. So, what does self-care mean to you? How does that play a role in your life?
Honestly, something that I've been working on for myself the past 6 months, 8 months is really kind of like trying to figure out what is going to fill me back up, because I always thought that it was like the alone time or like getting my nails done or like that kind of like traditional
Mm-hmm.
self-care. I guess that if you were to like say what's self-care, like a lot of people would be like, oh, like getting a massage or like doing this or that. But for me, it wasn't that. And I think that I was trying to determine what self-care looks like for me. And I think
Mm-hmm.
for me, it was actually focusing on protecting and like healing my mental health. So things like
Mm-hmm.
reading, like I started reading, that's self-care to me. Just sitting alone in a room and like reading my novel for an hour, that's my self-care. Or I started like in the last little bit, I started like biking. Like
Oh,
yeah, I love biking now. I'm a biker.
amazing.
I know.
Good for
And like
you.
thank you. And I love it and I feel so free and like comfortable, and it has helped my mental health so much. And I think that
Oh.
that has been what's filling my cup, is like trying to find things that make me less like stressed out or depressed or anxious. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like, I mean, I still do my nails, I still do my makeup and things like that, but it wasn't self-care for me. Like, it was just kind of like an expectation. Like, I need to go do this, I need to go do that. But finding
Maintenance.
little,
Yeah.
yeah, maintenance, right? But like now I have these like little hobbies that are just for me, and they make me feel so refreshed and like comfortable, which I think has helped a lot.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I think it's important to say like people might look at getting your nails done or doing your makeup as self-care, but you're right. Like
Yeah.
for me, I'm like I'm getting that done in order to have it done, and the whole time I'm doing it, I'm thinking about work, or like I'm thinking about the other things that
100%.
I'm
Or it
doing.
is work. Like sometimes you make content from it or things like that. Like that's like
True.
it's not, whereas like certain things that I'm like, it's just for me. Like I haven't
Mhm.
shared on my page that I'm biking now because that's just
Yeah.
for me. Like it's
Mhm.
just mine and I like it. And like my reading, like I have a lot of people ask for like book recommendations or they recommend books to me, but like I don't want to make content on it because it's just for me. Like I
Totally.
just want to
I
hold on
love
to it for
that.
me. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm similar like that with my sourdough. I share that I bake
I
sourdough. I share
love
the
it.
finished product a lot. It's like my
Yeah,
new favorite thing to do.
I
Because you
love
know that
it.
video where it's like there's all this noise and then like what happens to my brain when you're doing something? That's literally me. Like my brain shuts off when I'm
That's so
making
nice.
the sourdough. It's awesome. And then, like walking down the street to our neighbor's house and giving it to them with my kids is like an
I
adventure and part of something that I love to do too. So it is something that it's good to hold on to. And people ask
yeah.
all the time, like, what's your recipe? And I've had the intention so often of like creating content of it. And then that becomes stressful for me. And I'm like, this is my thing.
No,
Like eventually
exactly.
I'll maybe share it. But for now, like, yeah, it's important to have those things that just fill your cup and make
Just
you
for you.
feel good. Yes.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you kind of answered it by the biking, but what's like your all-time favorite way to practice self-care?
Oh, that's hard. Putting my phone away.
Ah, love.
Gone for the day, gone for a certain amount of time. Like if I leave and go biking or go do this or go do that, my phone's gone. Like it's off, it's
Love
gone.
that.
Like I don't want it. I don't want anything to do with it.
That's
And
amazing.
that's
Are you like intentional about the timing of that? Like, do you do that
yeah,
often?
very. I do, especially around my kids in the evening and stuff
Mm,
like that. Like
yeah.
I want to be present. I don't feel like I need to I feel very privileged that I don't have to share every ounce of my life. Like I
Mhm.
feel like my audience never expected that from me, and when I
Amazing.
take days off, they don't like bombard me with like, what are you doing,
Like,
what's
where
going
are
on,
you?
like
What are you doing?
what's going on, why haven't you posted in stories, like what's happening.
Yeah.
They're very respectful of that, and I
Oh,
just feel like I'm very lucky in that sense. Like I'm not one of those creators that has to share every aspect of myself all the time.
yeah.
So I'm taking advantage of it. And like
That's incredible.
yeah, it helps my mental health too, because I know, and you probably know, being on this online space, yes, it's an amazing job. It has so many perks, it has so many benefits, but the
Mm,
mental toll it takes on you is like nothing that you could ever
yeah,
prepare yourself for. So,
truthfully. I was
yeah.
having a very bad mental health day yesterday
Oh god.
because of that. And it has never been something that has affected me. Like, I've never
Oh,
really
really?
given a shit what people think. And all of a sudden, it's like I do. So, do you have any, like, what do you do to kind of protect your own mental space, capacity, health,
So I
being on?
definitely, so I know it's hard, but like I
Mm.
try to give myself like an allotted time to respond and chat with people in my comment section of videos. I do not go into the comment section of my viral videos. I know better than that.
Smart. Very smart.
I yeah, I'm also not afraid to, I used to be the person that would be like, I'd feel guilty about blocking people. Like I'd feel like
Oh.
someone could call me a piece of garbage, a fat, hot piece of ugly garbage, and I would feel guilty for blocking them. Like I
Oh
don't know
my
what's wrong with.
gosh.
I know. I like that's my own problem. Like, that's my
You're
own
just
like.
a loving, kind human, Zoe.
Well, I'm just like, well, maybe they're just having a bad day. Like this is in my head. Like, but no. But so for this year, like I'm not afraid to block people. I will block you. I will block you
Mhm.
on multiple accounts if you're like crazy enough. Like
Yeah.
I just feel like you need to protect your peace the best way you
Mhm.
can, and like whatever you need to do it. I'm a huge advocate for like protect your peace.
Yeah. That's
Remove
so, so
people
true.
from your home if they're disrespecting it or trashing it.
Yeah.
Like, would you let someone in your home if they were insulting you and like, you know, breaking your furniture and coloring all over your walls?
That's so
No.
true.
So get rid of
That's a
them.
very good analogy. Yeah.
Block them. Yeah.
You are very right. Okay. I'm going to take that energy into my day today.
Yeah.
And so you do talk about mental health quite a bit.
Mhm.
How has mental health awareness, all of those kind of things played a role in your journey?
I think that it's always just been a part of me. Like that's just like a
Mm,
huge part of me. I've struggled with my mental health my entire life. Like even
mm,
before I had a platform on the internet. I've suffered from anxiety, postpartum depression, severe panic attacks, regular good old fashioned depression, seasonal depression, like you name it, I have it kind of thing. I've been
mm.
on medication off and on my entire life because of my mental health. I was recently diagnosed with ADHD to like
Oh,
throw
wow.
on top of that pile as well. And
Yeah.
I feel like there's so much stigma around talking about it, or like that
Hmm.
I feel like I'm less of a person because I struggle with my mental health. So
Hmm.
I don't think people realize just how many people are struggling with their mental health. Like so many. Like it's like the fact that, so I talk to my husband all the time about this because like from what we know, he has no mental health problems. And I'm like, how? Like
Yeah. Are you human?
like like how do you not have anxiety, depression, and like this and that? And like it's I think it's honestly more rare to find someone who doesn't have mental
True.
health problems than the alternative.
So
So,
true.
and I think that a lot of people don't realize just how many people are struggling. And I feel like there's been so much stigma around it for so many years that because of that, so many people are ashamed to admit it or to talk about it. But
Hmm.
that helps so much. Like you probably know, if you talk about things, if you go to therapy, even if you have like a friend that you can like trust and vent to and like, have your own little versions of therapy with, you feel so
Hmm.
much better after. Like
So much better.
so much better. So, and
Hmm.
I think I forget about that sometimes. So like yesterday I came on stories and I was like, listen, like I'm not doing so good, like mentally. Like
Hmm.
and I talked and they're like, I had no idea you were feeling that way. And I'm like, I need to get
Yeah.
better at being more open about this because
That's so, so true. Because we talk about, people on
Mhm.
social media do talk about a lot of hot topics, things they're going
Yeah.
through. I mean, I share my life quite transparently, but when
Uh-huh.
it comes to mental health, I don't share anything.
I know. And is it because you feel like not guilty, but like a little bit of stigma around it? Like, do you
Yeah,
feel
like I
like,
feel like I'm failing or I'm weak if I say something, or like,
yeah,
I am this positive, confident person on the internet
uh-huh.
or in life. And so if I admit to feeling anything but positive and confident, then I've failed.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
you're
know why.
human. You're
Yeah.
human. And I bet you
Yeah.
any money if you were to come to your audience and say, listen, this is kind of what I've been struggling with in the last little bit mentally for like myself, the amount of people that would be like, I feel the same way. Like
I
the
think you're
amount of
right.
like thank yous and like thank you for talking about it, because we don't, like,
Mhm.
people don't talk about it. And I know that like especially with our accounts, a lot of people go to our accounts for like distractions and for like positivity and for
Yeah.
fun and for, but they also don't expect you to be anything other than perfect because you've shown up so authentically in the past. I don't
Mhm.
think that you would receive an ounce of hate for that.
I think you're right. And it's so funny because when we talk about sharing like our house being messy, like I'll go around my house and be like, "Do you want to count the amounts of piles of laundry?" Like we can do that. Like just so
Yeah.
you know, this is normal. It's fine if
It's
your house looks like
life.
this.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but that is so much easier to share, even though I'm like pretty like embarrassed about it. But like somehow when it comes to our mental health, it's just so much more difficult to talk about.
I think it's also putting a guard down that you put up to protect yourself and to protect your peace and stuff like that. It's hard to
Yeah.
be transparent and to show any kind of weakness on the
Yeah.
internet because
It really
then you
is.
think like, oh, who's going to use this to their advantage and like this and that. Like,
Yeah. That's so, so true. Well, thank you for being so transparent and open and honest because you do inspire me and I'm sure
oh,
tons of other people. Truthfully, yeah, it's amazing. So keep doing what you're doing.
You too.
Thanks.
I'm gonna go get your sourdough recipe as soon as,
Yes.
this is done.
I'm gonna make you a loaf next time I know I'm gonna see you.
Oh my gosh.
There'll be a
Yay,
loaf
I'm
in
so
your
excited.
future for sure.
I love sourdough. It's the best.
It's literally my favorite. I've started doing inclusions, like putting I do like a jalapeno cheddar loaf.
Oh my gosh.
Loaf. Like I made a double espresso chocolate loaf. That was unreal.
That sounds so good.
There'll be a loaf in your future. Don't worry.
Yay.
To end, Zoe, can I ask you some rapid fire questions?
Oh, sure.
Okay, here we go. Favorite book you've ever read?
Oh my God. I just read the It Ends With Us, It Starts With Us series.
Love.
So good.
Did you know it's going to be a movie?
Mm-hmm. I'm so excited for it.
I'm so excited. Okay.
So
dream
excited.
travel destination?
I would love to go to like Greece or, anywhere in Europe. I've not been to Europe at all, so I'd love to see that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, your time has to come because it's so stunning. Favorite way to start the day?
With a tea and watching my kids play.
Oh, so sweet. One thing you can't live without?
My children and my husband and my dog.
Oh, I love. And morning person or night owl?
I'm a morning person, even though it does not appear that way. I know everyone always jokes whenever I put like a little vlog or like a daily eats video. They're like, you look like not rough in the morning, but but I'd much rather get up on my own time, like at 7:00 and like have my tea and like I don't do well at night. I don't function.
Oh, well, amazing. Well, thank you, Zoe, for joining us. Where can people find you? Where can people follow along?
So on Instagram and TikTok, I'm Love Zoe Potter. And on YouTube, I'm just Zoe Potter. And I do have a podcast called the Kinda Influenced Podcast with my friend Sarah. We are on a season break for the summer, but we're coming back in the fall in September. So
yay, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for this conversation.
Yeah.
And I hope to see you soon.
Yes, you too.
Thanks, Zoe.